Okay, so let's take a look at this IELTS Task 2 essay. The pattern is discuss both views and give your opinion. So this is the typical pattern that you would have an introduction, point of view A, point of view B, and a conclusion. And then definitely in your introduction and conclusion, you should be giving me what we call a thesis statement, okay, which is a fancy way of basically saying your opinion. Okay, so what do you believe? Which side do you agree with? Okay, so let's look at the topic. In the modern world, it is possible to shop, work, and communicate with people via the internet and live without any face-to-face contact with others. Is it a positive or a negative development in your opinion? To what extent do you support this development? Okay, so this is an interesting question. So really, I think it's interesting that they're focusing on the lack of face-to-face contact with other people. And I'm sure that's something people who've lived through the COVID pandemic have experienced or thought about. There are studies coming out showing that younger children who've only done online schooling are less developed in terms of their emotional intelligence, or their social communication skills with their peers need to catch up. So it's really, this question is asking you to think about, is it the benefits of this convenient lifestyle? Does that outweigh the negatives of not being able to communicate face-to-face with other people? So let's take a look and see what this candidate has done. So let's look at their introduction first. 2 sentences is what I see instantly when I look at it before I read it, and I'm thinking that's okay. I prefer 3 in an introduction, but let's take a look. It is true that in contemporary life, people in many parts of the world are able to do their shopping, work, and communicate with each other via the internet. While there are clear positive aspects of this trend, there are also negative aspects of having less face-to-face contact with other people. Okay, so they've paraphrased contemporary life from modern world, right? So it's true that many people in many parts of the world do their shopping, work, and communicate with each other. So I like the way that they've paraphrased, well, do their shopping rather than to shop. Okay, so they've made an effort to change up the sentence and show their skills, that they can change it to different forms of the verb. So I like that. But then where's their opinion? Where's their thesis statement? They've just said there are clear positives, there are also negatives. But you need to tell me what they are. Which one do you agree with? Okay, this is okay, but it's not a very strong sentence. A much stronger sentence would be something like, while there are clear positives to our new convenient lifestyles, the damage to our emotional well-being, so like our mental health, well-being, of a lack of face-to-face contact cannot be overlooked. Okay, so why is this a stronger sentence? Okay, so first off, you've given me the example. Okay, so you've told me the reason why you think that it's not a good idea to have less face-to-face contact. Okay, so you said while there are clear positives to our new convenient lifestyle, so the convenience is great. Okay, so but then you said, actually, this is your opinion starting from here. The damage to our emotional well-being of a lack of face-to-face contact cannot be overlooked. Okay, so you can't ignore it. You can't overlook it. So now you've told me this is your opinion. You're going to say that the negatives are stronger than the positives. Okay, and you've given me a hint about what you're going to talk about. The first half is going to look at convenience. The second half is going to look to the emotional and social damage. Okay, and that's the reason why you think it's not a good trend or not a good development. Okay, so you've taken a position. You've given me an opinion. Personally, I really dislike essays that just give me some people think A, some people think B, and I'm going to discuss it. Because that's a waste of a sentence. You've not told me any information. You've not told me anything new. I know you're going to talk about this topic, so give me your opinion, okay? So that's the essays that score much higher for task achievement and coherence and cohesion are the essays that have a strong opinion in the introduction, because then you can support that opinion throughout your essay, okay, which will help you with your cohesion. And then you can explain why that's your opinion in more detail, and that's going to help your task achievement. Okay, so let's take a look and see what this candidate has done. So on the one hand, the internet can be very handy in many ways. I actually like the phrase very handy. It's very handy. It's a very informal phrase. It's not particularly formal academic English. So, I mean, there's some debate. Maybe in an IELTS task 2, you shouldn't say this and you should save this for your speaking portion. But it's a very nice and very natural sounding phrase. I say very handy a lot in my natural conversation. The internet can be very handy in many ways. Many people use it to keep in touch with friends and family using Facebook, Skype, or WhatsApp to send instant messages or to enjoy a quick chat. Again, quick chat, natural sounding phrase, but again, this is sort of feeling a little bit informal, the whole tone of this essay already. So I would just warn this candidate, these kind of phrases, very nice, very natural, but perhaps better in your speaking section than your writing section. Many also use the internet for online shopping, thus saving time and petrol on trips to the supermarket, as well as hunting around different sites for bargains. I really like this sentence. This is a very nice sentence. They have a nice linking word here, thus. They say petrol, which is UK English, so I'm just going to give them a little smiley face there. This person obviously has been studying British English, or maybe they've studied abroad in the UK. As well as hunting around different sites for bargains. So hunting around different sites for bargains, again, a very natural, native-like phrase. Again, hunting around, a little bit informal. So this is the pattern that we're seeing with this person's writing. However, it is in terms of work that the internet offers the most potential benefits. Oh, I like this. They've categorized it. They said, oh, actually, this is the most important benefit. That's a very nice argumentative structure. It's like, yes, it's handy. Yes, you can keep in touch. Yes, it's good for shopping. But the best thing, more and more people are working or even studying from home at hours which suit their own schedules. Many hours are saved each week by eliminating the daily commute and the stress of coping with the rush hour. Oh, this is actually very well argued, very well constructed as a paragraph. We've got lots of different examples that they've included. They've ranked the most important benefit. They've explained it. Eliminating the daily commute, very nice phrase. The stress of coping with the rush hour. Again, we've got these very nice, natural, idiomatic and native sounding phrases in here. The only thing which I always suggest that candidates include is some kind of example. Okay, and you can just make this up. It's okay to lie. Okay, so maybe a study by, I always say UCL, a study by UCL found that, people who worked from home were 40% less stressed than people who didn't. Therefore showing how the internet can benefit people's lives. Okay, so if you include some sentence like that, that's going to help push you up into the higher task achievement band, sort of like we're talking 6.57 for task achievement. But overall, this is a very strong paragraph. Like I said, negative side is it's slightly informal, but overall very nicely structured. Okay. On the other hand, as social beings, people need personal contact. Firstly, virtual friendships that are formed online may not be genuine. The media, capital letter here, the media carries many horror stories of youngsters who have fallen prey to pedophiles, for example. Secondly, online shopping is not always appropriate depending on the item. It is best, for instance, to try on clothes before buying. And while a bookworm can find almost any book title that they want online, they will certainly miss browsing the shelves of bookstores. Finally, personal interaction with work colleagues can generate ideas and avoid misunderstandings. Again, I would like to see an example added in here. Okay, so, there's lots of stories about Google actually not being that productive because they have these open plan beanbag chair offices and stuff, but actually they say they're not as productive. I like this idea about the bookworm, this whole phrase about the bookworm browsing the bookstores, very nicely written, nice grammar, great vocabulary. If we're talking about person-to-person contacts, maybe you could mention something like browsing and getting recommendations from staff. Is an important sort of part of going to the bookstore. Certainly I find buying books online, you kind of have to know what book you want going into it. It's much harder to search for new books online than it is in a bookstore. but yeah, it's lots of examples. The only thing I would suggest is that they've actually, because they've got so many examples in one paragraph, they've not fully explained each of the examples in enough detail. So what you want to do to get the really high task achievement scores is to really go into detail, explaining your reasoning and logic behind it. So, for example, these virtual friendships may not be genuine, and they talk about the children falling victim to pedophiles. And so then explain that, by having more face-to-face contact or training, kids can be taught to see the danger signs and to understand more about online safety or things like that. So I'd like to see this candidate explain all of their examples in more detail. Now, that it means you have to write more words. And to write more words, you have to be able to write faster. Okay, so this is part of the challenge of IELTS Task 2, is that you have to be able to write enough words quickly enough to fill it. A lot of candidates think, I only have to write 250 words and then I'm done. That's like the minimum, right? 250 words. You can write more. That's okay. Okay, so in conclusion, although there are positive aspects of this trend, there are also aspects of face-to-face contact which it would be a shame to lose. Again, which it would be a shame to lose is a very nice phrase. But again, what's their opinion? Like, it's kind of 50-50, right? They're like, there's some good things and some bad things, I guess. But again, I would like to have seen them take a much stronger stance in this essay. And I think that's the main drawback of this essay. Grammar, I thought was great. I would want to probably give a 7 for grammar. Vocabulary, again, I would give a 7 on the basis that I liked the informal phrasing. I think that's okay. Maybe another examiner would have a different feeling on it and say it was too informal and not academic enough. I liked all the phrasing. I thought it fit very well in. Coherence and cohesion. Nice linking, good paragraphing, introduction, conclusion would be fine. Task achievement, I would probably put them down at like a 6.5. I think they could have had more examples. I think they could have explained themselves a bit more. And again, where is your opinion? That would be the thing I would suggest this candidate can improve the most and work on the most, is expanding and explaining more all of their examples, and secondly, improving that introduction to have a much stronger thesis statement and opinion, which is supported throughout. So I don't do any of this 50-50 nonsense. So overall, they're probably coming out at a 7.0. I thought overall a very strong essay, and I think this candidate should be very pleased about what they wrote.